There you go. That was Worst Jobs on the Frontline, Vol1, and Alex was reading that. How you doing, Alex?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. So we're doing a little podcast type style extra bonus for this book. But Alex, you've obviously read the whole book and you did it in super quick time, and I think you've done an amazing job.
Thank
But nobody knows anything about you. So likewise with this book, not many people know anything about me unless they've listened or read the first book that I've done. But yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
So I'm Alex. I actually really wanted to narrate this book because I work as a paramedic myself. I've had my own worst jobs on the front line, and this book really resonated with me. I've actually recently left the ambulance service just a couple of months ago to do more of this voice acting stuff, but I still work paramedic for events and stuff. Do
Okay, cool.
medical for festivals and rowing and whatever you can think of. It just, yeah. Frontline was, it got a bit much, I think is the best way of
Yeah.
putting it. You get too many of these worst jobs and you just go, no, I think I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% with you. I do event work as well, and I must admit, while I love the NHS and I love the security of it, there is part of me thinking, do I want to be doing this? I mean, I'm 42 now, so do I really want to be doing this to the age of 67?
It's a bit much.
Yeah, yeah. But for now, I'm kind of in that trap. But there's that common theme, isn't there? 5-year blues or whatever they want to call it, where they lose a lot of paramedics after 5 years. And what am I? I'm coming up to 15 years.
Wow.
I've been a paramedic for 11, 2 years student prior to that, and then probably 2 years as a ECA. So
Okay.
yeah, 15 years I would have thought frontline work anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just about managed 7, but I started literally a few months before COVID hit the fan.
okay.
And yeah, so I was kind of thrown in the deep end. So I think literally my whole career has just been trauma the whole way through from
Yes.
COVID and everything coming from after it. So
Oh, COVID were good times for us. So sitting on stage
uh,
for hours waiting
yeah,
because people were scared to call us, weren't they? So
yeah, scared to be seen by us, scared to go to hospital. It was, people were actually calling when they were sick, when
yeah,
they
yeah,
should be calling. And you didn't get
yeah.
oh, I've caught my finger in a door and it really hurts, or that's
I agree.
day. And it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, the old treble one jobs, first party caller, cardiac arrest type thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not really sure they can be calling if they're dead. Yes. So likewise, I wrote this book. I say I wrote it. To be fair, a lot of other people wrote it. They sent me the stories in, and then I rewrote it, which is one of the reasons why I love about this. You could be the most artistic person with your writing, or you could be the worst person, and they send the stories in, and then I rewrite them, but still true to the facts. And then I send it back to the original person and say, "Are you happy with this?" And if they're happy with it, then it goes in the book. I could sit there and write a book about all the jobs I've gone to, which is another me perspective. This was in everybody's perspective, and I like to. The next book, volume 2 or 3, depending on how it goes, is not just going to involve ambulance staff. So during this book, there was people writing in who were 999 call handlers, I had a police officer writing, nurses, that kind of thing. And I thought, well, I could do another book about ambulances, but I generally think if you're reading these books, you probably don't work frontline,
No.
or you're very new.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, once you've been doing it a while, you kind of get bored of reading about what you do on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's really good for people that want to get into this job or are just interested. But, if we can involve the police and fire as well, and maybe Coast Guard or whoever wants to write in, it will be good. And then people can tell their stories. And specifically with this book, people have a choice whether to use their real name or use a fake name, real location or fake location. So I would think probably 75% of the stories on here are fake names. And I only know that because when people are sending stories in, their email addresses generally give away their real names versus the name they put. But I mean, that's the beauty of it. I want people to send in the stories that are risky, that are going to interest people, but I don't want people to get in trouble. So I think there was a story in there about diazepam with a fake seizure.
It's, yeah. I
Yeah.
really like the ending of that one because I just record as I go. Like I give it a very
Yeah.
quick read through to see what I'm doing, but otherwise I just because I feel like I get more of the emotion, my own emotions sit if I don't know what's
Yeah.
coming. And I actually had to record the last few lines a couple of times because it actually made me laugh. Where it's like,
Oh, good.
unethical, maybe, effective, absolutely. If he wasn't faking it, then I'd done the right thing. But my name isn't really Sophie Lane. And
Yeah, there you go.
it caught me off guard and really made me laugh. And I was like, you know what, actually, I like that. That's good because,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the email that I got from these people, we go back and forward, and then I delete and I remove, so they're completely anonymous beyond that point. Um, and I tell people, what name do you want to use if they haven't put a fake name already, and if they're happy to. I think there's an Andy Allard on there. It's actually a guy that I know. It was about Peacock. I think it was this Peacock Spud one or whatever.
yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I don't know if it's a bit rubbish, but I'll send you this one in anyway." And I was like, you know what? It's a nice little teaser. And I rewrote that and sent it back. And he said, the way you wrote that has made me laugh. And yet I know what the story's about. So great stuff. I should have said, actually, when I put the book together, then I put it on Audible for people to audition for it. And I don't know, this one was quite popular. I probably had 20 people within the first 3 or 4 days of putting it up. Um, it's weird because you listen and you're like, oh, it's all right, it's passable, but I'm not quite sure. And I really rushed my first book
Yeah.
because I had like no bites, and then I had 2 bites, and one was better than the other. So I was like, all right, we'll go with the other. And we got, I don't know, 6 weeks into it, and then he abandoned it. He said, "Oh, I can't do this. Things have gone on in my life."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then I put it back out, and I didn't rush it the second time. And I had a really good guy come and do it. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise for me. But I have to say, when I heard your audition, I was instantly like, I like this guy, but I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to sit on it for 48 hours. Then when I saw that you were for the ambulance service, I thought you were a tech, funny enough, but yeah, paramedic, well done. It worked because, one, I thought you were great with your audition, and two, you actually understand the job.
Yeah.
So
I think with this book, it makes a lot of difference. I mean, there are absolutely amazing voiceover artists out there, especially audiobook narrators. But I think a lot of us have our own specific skills within that, and this is one of mine. Understanding it, and like, how to picture it in your mind. Like, I can picture these people going on blue lights and turning up at a patient's door and seeing exactly how this patient is reacting to them.
yeah,
Whereas I think anybody that hasn't been in the job, they don't know. They kind of, I don't know if they like over exaggerate it or don't, because they don't quite know how to see it in their mind. I don't think they quite know how to narrate it in the true fashion that it needs to be narrated in. I think if you're going to read a book like this, you need to get the comedy of some of them, because I was chuckling my way through a lot of them, but also the dark undertones, especially ones involving kids and
yeah,
the horrific things that I'm sure both you and I have seen
yeah,
during our time with the service. They don't quite understand the raw emotion that comes with that, and I think this book needs that to
yeah,
fully get across what this job is like, really.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the very first story, I think it's called A Purple Call or something like that. Purple, yeah, it is A Purple Call. Yeah. So it was a story I was going to add for a pediatric arrest that I went to, and it was one of the first stories that someone else sent in. So I mean, it's not my story. Some of these are mine, but they've all been anonymized. So you wouldn't know, and I wouldn't tell you otherwise. But yeah, the first one was definitely a story that hit home for me because it's very similar to the job I went to, and I was so honored that someone shared that story with me. The weird thing about this book is when I was asking people, I got a lot of hate from the service, and you'd know this more than most, but essentially they always say people don't want to relive their worst days, and it's one of the worst things you can ask a paramedic or ambulance staff. What's the worst job you've ever seen? Because it doesn't bother me personally because I understand people are curious,
Yeah.
but I also understand the flip side where people they think it's why would you ask me what my worst job was? Someone else's worst day. Um, and I get that, but before I became a paramedic, if I went past an RTC, I was a proper rubbernecker. I'd be looking at it, and people would be like, "Oh, that's really morbid." And maybe there was something in that for me to become a paramedic in the end, because I never planned to become a paramedic. I kind of fell into the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get why people would ask. And the truth is, people can ask. I think they should be allowed to ask because you might want to share your story,
Yeah.
but likewise, you don't have to. If you say, "Oh, my worst job was this," in your head, you might have 10 jobs that were worse, but you don't want to talk about them. So, it should be a fair game if people want to.
That's really sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, in terms of, I mean, none of these stories are yours. You're welcome to send some stories in for the next book or whatever, but has any of these stories resonated with you?
Well, I've not read these for a little while now. I think I have to
Yeah.
think back quickly.
That's my fault, by the way. Anyone listening, Alex has done this really super quick, and then things just happened in life, and it just caught me off guard. And then it gets put on the back burner, doesn't it? And then
No,
I think you messaged me last week, and I was like, oh yeah, got to get on that. So
that's true.
yes,
There was one. When I was recording this, I was like, yeah, it's only a couple of stories. The nice shot will be easy. And then afterwards, I was like, there's actually a lot of stories in this.
mm.
Um,
I I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest. I put it out, and then the book arrived for me, and I thought, God, it's smaller than I thought it was actually. So I think I would have took it off sale and added more stories, but I think I'd been already sold, I don't know, 50 books or something. And I thought it's pretty unfair to sell a book and then resell it at the same price later with some more stories. So we've just left this as volume 1. But there are, yeah, I mean, there's a variety. I thought there'd be more darker stories because a lot of these are comical rather than darker. Um, but yeah,
so
yeah,
there's the job that I think I resonated with most. I mean, as I've mentioned, I started literally just before COVID, and I think first COVID job was the one that actually was like, yeah, that it sort of brought everything back. And obviously, like my worst jobs that have ever happened within COVID, but that isn't what it
mm,
brought back for me. It was in the story they go into the cafe. You've got everybody looking at them, and because they're all dressed up, people are obviously having their reactions of, "Oh my God, is COVID in the room with us?" Um, and my first COVID job, it was a little bit crazy because with the ambulance service, you have different skill levels. So you've got your paramedic, your tech, your ECA, your AAP, whatever service you're in. You've got this sort of
yeah,
ranking system. And I was working with a band 6 paramedic, which was helpful because I was a newly qualified paramedic. I was sort of fresh out of training school and and straight into COVID. And the rule that they'd initially put in place, especially for my ambulance service, was only one crewmate goes in at a time.
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
We have that as well.
and it was a bit like, but what? I don't know what I'm doing. Like you're sending me in a Tyvek suit and all gloved up and everything, and I literally it was almost a book's worth of paperwork that I had to follow with the guidance. Like, you need to check for this, you need to make sure you've done this. Have they been here, there, and there? And trying to be professional with this patient that, I mean, he looked rubbish, but he definitely wasn't the worst I ever saw during COVID. He'd recently been to the horse racing, which is where he'd probably picked it up. And
Yeah.
he was just like, my chest feels really tight. I just feel quite breathless and a bit sort of feverish. And I was like, right, okay. Are you okay if I borrow this table for a second whilst I'm checking you over? And he's like, yeah, of course. And I'm just flicking through this paperwork going, I promise I know what I'm doing, but I just need to make sure I'm not missing anything. Like, have you recently been in a crowded area? Have you had these symptoms? What have you been doing about this? Since you've had these symptoms, where have you gone? And it felt more like an interrogation rather than actually me looking after a patient.
Mhm.
But we got through it. I ended up going back out to the truck, going to the band 6 and going, this is the situation. And she was like, yeah, we'll leave him. He'll be absolutely fine. As long as you've given like worsening care. And I was like, yeah. So as I've gone to walk back into the house, I've noticed that next door, it must have been like a family of probably 2 parents and 3 kids. All of their heads are sticking out of this window. And they're all just watching me. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're just like, they're worried for their neighbor or whatever. So I've gone back in and I've talked to this gentleman and said, like, you know what, if you feel worse, call us back. But at the moment, I just need you to do this, this, and this. And as I've come back out, I've noticed that all along this, I mean, it was a little cul-de-sac, if I remember right. So obviously there's not much that goes on down it. And nearly every single house had someone either at the window filming or their head out the window trying to get an idea of what's going on. And then I had someone
Yeah.
shout, is it COVID? Has he got COVID? And I was like, well, I can't give you that information. Like, just
Mm.
know that he's okay, but all like stay in your houses and whatever. Don't go into crowded places, keep yourself safe. And he had someone else going, "We need to know if it's COVID." And I was like, well, you don't. You don't. Just if you follow the rules and stay where you are, you're not going to get it. Like just keep within yourselves." And suddenly, like, there was just more and more people like piping up out of the windows, like, "We just want to know. We just want to know. Like, is he okay?" And it was like, in that situation, I mean, being so new, I didn't quite know how to react to it. I mean, you don't really know how to react to that kind of thing in the first place when you've suddenly got a
Yeah.
lot of people, and you know there's only so much you can actually tell people that aren't related to the patient. But it was also the fear that I could see in their eyes rather than the nosiness of, "Oh my God, like, is he gonna die? Are we gonna get it? Are we gonna die? Like, is it just gonna
Yes.
spread up the street?" And having all of these, like, phones in my faces and everything, like, it was just, yeah, I think that was the one that really got to me, because it was like, yeah, I remember that. The not knowing what to say, and phones in your face, and knowing that you're gonna end up on social media with people saying all these captions, and it was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get fired before I've even started, because they're gonna twist it or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, it is scary. It's weird how different when the jabs came out, how different it changed. So from my perspective, COVID came out, we were all scared. We were all trying to make out we weren't scared.
Yeah.
Um, and people were clapping us, which was weird. I was going to shops to buy myself a meal deal, and before I knew it, the person in front was buying it for me. Um, but it was scary to go to these jobs. And then the jab came out, and almost overnight, it was like nobody was getting COVID anymore, or very mild symptoms. Now, I know there's going to be people listening to this that are pro the jabs, and some that are going to be listening to it going anti jabs. And I'm going to be honest, from my perspective, the vaccines definitely reduced the amount of we were going to definitely reduce the severity.
Yeah.
However, I would also say, coincidentally or not, I was going to a lot more people having heart attacks, strokes, people that were far younger than what they should be. So, like a 20-year-old just dropping down dead. So, whether that had anything to do with vaccines, I have my thoughts, and you can probably guess them, but I'm not going to say here because I don't want to be sued by the government or whatever for being a conspiracy theorist or whatever. It could have just been coincidental, but yeah, I think, am I pro or anti? I'm kind of on the fence with both. I don't think I would have another jab, but I did have two, and I don't think I'd have any more. But then, each their own, and follow advice if you choose to believe or whatever. But yeah, it was a weird, weird time.
No, I'm exactly the same, but I happen to be one of those potential coincidences that thankfully I didn't have a heart attack, but since getting COVID and or having the jabs, I developed a heart condition, and that's actually what brought me off of frontline work, trying to work through it. And in simple terms, I basically just suddenly get a really sporadic fast heart rate, comes out of
Okay.
nowhere, and yeah, had to go on medication just to sort of like try and keep it under wraps and everything. And but
Beta blocker.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, I was perfectly fit and healthy until, but I can't say whether it was COVID or the vaccine. It just, somewhere in that time after getting sick and having jabs, I suddenly was having heart problems. So I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still on the fence. I mean, there are so many good vaccines out there that that definitely do the right thing, whether they have side effects for people or not. And you know what? I'd rather take the risk with vaccines, knowing that there's a good chance I'm not going to get the thing that's actually going to kill me. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Who knows? But it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I think was it Broken Circuit? That was another ambulance person that similarly they
Yeah, yeah.
collapsed and had ST elevation. Yeah. So it does happen, but then again, it could be night shifts or anything.
It very well could be night shifts, bad diet, anything that sort of, yeah.
Yeah. It does happen. Yeah. What other jobs? I love Shit Angels. That was a good one.
That was definitely what I chuckled at.
Yeah. You can just imagine it. And they weren't even needed at the end of it. Doctor No at all. Yeah. And you must have come across this in your job as well. So people, I suppose it's the same with everything. So you can have ECAs that are fantastic and you can have ECAs that are terrible, but likewise, you can have doctors that are fantastic or terrible. Yeah. And yeah, I think Dr. Myrtle was about it was a diabetic, wasn't it? And they had diagnosed a stroke, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just goes to show.
I think my problem with that one wasn't the fact that they diagnosed him with stroke, because obviously you have your differential diagnoses, but it was the fact that the paramedic came along and basically it was like, well, have you done these things, to actually
Yeah.
rule out other options? And they're sort of like, no, it's definitely this. So it's like, it's the problem when you get personalities like that, because you're like, well, if you actually just took a step back for a moment, I'm not saying you're wrong. It very well could be a stroke.
Yeah.
However, can we just check these more minor things just in case? And for them to just go, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Whether they get proven wrong or not, it's just having that. I mean, it's an ego thing, really, isn't it? It's
Is it
I have to be
God
right.
complex?
And yeah. And I've definitely come across plenty of doctors, and especially when you're handing over at A&E, or even when you call it for a GP callback or whatever, and you've got them going, oh, well, it's definitely this. They need to go into hospital. They need, and I'm like, well, it's not, because if you actually listen to the rest of the information, you'll find that it's this, and this, not what you're thinking is the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they must go into hospital. And you're just like, what? If you just
I-
literally take a second to listen and get all of that information and put two and two together, you'll actually come to the same conclusion, but you're not
Yes.
letting us get that far.
Yeah, it is very common. And do you know what? I think we've lost all common sense as well. So, going to a care home where an elderly person's on warfarin, for example, and they fell over, they banged their head. Paper says we take them into hospital in case they've got a bleed on the brain. Common sense would say they're 95 years old, have got very poor quality of life.
Yeah.
They've got paperwork that says they're not going to have operations or anything. So if you are bleeding into your brain, they're not going to do brain surgery
Yeah.
because you wouldn't survive it. So are we really taking everybody in? But you have to follow protocol, and that's where it's really difficult to be an autonomous practitioner as we're supposed to be
Yeah.
versus someone that follows the algorithms. Um, and you got to be pretty brave to follow the algorithm. Even I think I am pretty brave, and I've touched wood. I've been lucky so far, but I do cover myself as well. So I don't just go, yeah, I'm going to leave them here. I do speak to a senior clinician or the GP or the family, and I make sure things are in place. But a lot of people don't, and I get it because I also know a lot of people that have been proactive, and then it's come back to bite them, and then they just go, you know what, I'm just going to take everybody into hospital.
Yeah. And then your hospital's getting filled, and there's nowhere for them to go, and then we've got busy corridors, and yeah.
Yes. Or you go to that person who did bang their head. There's no bleed, but they've come back with COVID.
Yeah.
And now the whole care home's got COVID. So, but then what do we know, eh?
Yeah. And then you do 3 jobs to that one care home in one shift. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So with my private work, I tend to do a lot of motorsports. I'd love to do festivals. And I've worked with some private companies in the past that does festivals, but kind of locally here, most of it is motorbikes or cars, like banger cars. And I love it. But I also love music. So I love to do a lot more um, music festivals. I've done a couple of charity football matches with the like celebrities, celebrity football matches. But I tend to, yeah, it is, but it tends to be the smaller stadiums. So a lot of the big names don't come to the smaller ones. I think the last one I went to, I recognised 2 people, and there was 24 there. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, but they're on Love Island and they're a YouTube star and they're this. And I was like, I've got no idea. No idea. There you go. So you do rowing, you said as well.
Yeah, so rowing, festivals. We work at a venue in London, the Troxy.
Okay.
So there's a lot there, which is a lot of music stuff.
I tell you what, music festivals, you get the all access bands, don't you?
You do, yeah. We get we get quite a lot of big names coming through. I mean, we're doing a big festival in Brighton next month, and yeah, it's got some pretty big names coming through, which is quite exciting. We get free roam of everywhere, obviously, because if the band is sick, then you have to go backstage and deal with them. I've not actually been lucky enough to be one of those people to go backstage, but you do. I have found that there have been times when you do get to benefit from them being round. I mean, I'm also a musician. I'm in a small covers band, and it's it's quite cool getting to see everything, not even the bands themselves, but getting to see the setup of how everything works backstage and what goes into it. It's sort of like, yeah, it's great for the medic work, but also for my musician side, it's really sort of feeling that, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
this is awesome. Like, this is where I'd love to be in however many years time to get that
Oh, I
far.
get it.
But it's, yeah, though it is really cool, and I enjoy doing it. And I know with the ambulance stuff being frontline, like it is same shit, different day, basically.
Yeah, it is for us.
It's you kind of have a rough idea of what you're going to. Obviously, you get those jobs here and there where it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I've not done one of these before, or something like that. But when you're doing the festival work, or rowing, or American football, or Quidditch, I think we cover Quidditch somewhere in the country. Like there's so many different events. There's so many different things that can go wrong with it. It's everything we cover has that 50-50 on whether it could be illness or it could be trauma or something like that
Yeah,
because of the actual situation. Whereas obviously the majority of ambulance work is illness. It's
yeah.
you don't often get that trauma stuff. And I can't say that I'm a big trauma fan anyway. Um that's never been something that really gets me going. If I hear something that's trauma, Hems is on the way, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to.
So I really wanted to do. I wanted to go to Thames, and that was my life for a long time. And I just couldn't think of anything worse now. It's weird. So I've 180 on it. You, before we go any further, you need to sell your band. Have people have a look at it. What's your band called?
It's John and the Medics.
John and the Medics. There you
Yeah,
go, guys. You,
fitting
you
it.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. In terms of festivals and stuff like that, it is weird. And same with the motorsports. Some of the crashes that I see, you think if this was on the public road, you would have HEMS there, you'd have all the ambulance services there, you'd have every man and a dog, and yet they seem to get up and walk towards you and wipe themselves off, and they're like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's so weird how it's a completely different world. The things that I let get away with on these events versus what I would let get away with on the main road. I mean, I know they've got all their safety things on, but I just think they're hard as nails. They're like, oh yeah, it's all right, it's only a scratch. Can you make your
Slid 100 yards down the road. Like, what?
yeah, rolled it 4 times, what's going on? But, I mean, you can't make people do what they don't wanna do. So I'll still treat her, but like, "Yeah, you've rolled your car 4 times, so really we should be sending you to hospital." And they're like, "Nah, it's fine." And you're like, "Okay, sign here, as long as you're aware."
So, I mean, on the road, that's straight to major trauma. You haven't,
100%.
even if they get out and are absolutely fine, you're like, right, okay, we're gonna have to board collar that they've rolled their car multiple times. They're going, and they're like,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely fine. I've got no pain. You're like, I don't care. We're going.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had one recently where, I think it was banger cars, and the guy smashed into a barrier. And nobody seemed that bothered. And I'm off the track, but we've got medics on the track, and they've kind of wandered over. But it's taken longer than I expect. So I think it's what's going on here. So I radio up. I'm going to call him Dave. So I radioed up Dave, and I said, Dave, what's going on? And he says, oh, he said, yeah, he's going in one of the marshal's cars towards you. Just coming to the med bay, just have a checkup. He said he was knocked out, but he's awake now. And I thought, oh, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
So they pull up outside the med bay and he steps out the car and he's holding himself rigid. And my instant thought was, oh shit, he's broke his neck. So he comes wandering in. He's like, oh, my neck's just a bit stiff. And I'm like, just lie down. Do not move. Yeah. So I checked his C-spine and whatever. And weirdly, it wasn't central. It was to the left of it. And I thought, oh, but it's too close. This is too close. I'm not comfortable. So I said, I'm going to call an ambulance. He was like, no, no, it's fine. I said, honestly, I'm not happy. And his family turned up and they were like, just listen to him. He knows. I said, look, hospital is 5 minutes down the road. If it's fine, but it's not worth your life.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay, fine. And a crew turned up and I knew the crew. And I said to them, like, on paper, no, but because it's not central, it's slightly to the left. He's got no sort of paralysis. He's got all kind of limb sensation and everything. Nothing that's screaming. I've just got a bad feeling. And they went, yeah, okay. And they did the same checks and were like, yeah, it's a bit close, this, isn't it? So fortunately, they went down that protocol and we boarded and collared this guy. And did we use a collar? I don't think we use them very often now. But anyway, he got took into hospital. That crew was on a night shift and they went back towards the morning. So I got a message at like 4 in the morning saying, Went back, yeah, he's fractured 2 of his vertebrae. It's like, I don't know, C4 and C5 or whatever in his neck. So anybody that's not anyone that's non-medical had his, so the bones itself were broken. It's top of his back, bottom of his neck kind of area. Well, it's probably mid neck actually, think about it. But anyway, the spinal cord that goes through the middle is like your power station. If you cut it, there's no power to the rest of the body. And we're talking below that point. So there's no power to heart, lungs, chest, arms, anywhere. So within a split second, this person would have died. And it's just scary, isn't it? You think, that's our life. And I've heard this from a doctor. A doctor once said to me, you guys are crazy. He said, we have people come in, we do bloods, we do CTs, we've got colleagues to talk to. There's all these people and all these kind of different protocols and stuff, and we can check so much more than you. You guys turn up with a ghetto blaster that's got a blood pressure cuff on and a blood sugar monitor, and you make decisions whether, people should be going to hospital or not. And I think that's why we do it, because most of ours is common sense. Yes, we've got protocols and stuff, but I used to work with a guy that said if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, if it sounds like a duck, guess what? It's a duck. Yeah. So it's about not being stupid. But if you've ever got a relative or a friend that you have an ambulance come out and they go, no, it's fine, and they go, and you're not happy, ring back again. Because a lot of what we do is, you're not bad enough now, call back if they get worse. And then the trouble is, if they go into hospital too early, they could just be discharged. 24 hours later, they might be worse. If you then go, well, the ambulance left you yesterday, so there's no point calling another one, that could be the difference between life and death. And we as ambulance crew, paramedics, ECAs, techs, whatever, we would rather you call back, because that saves our backside. This is what they were like on Tuesday. Wednesday, they were worse. Thursday, they died. If you didn't call back, why did you leave them on Tuesday? We'd rather they go, you left this person, well, this is what they were like. And then Wednesday, they're worse. And then they went into hospital. So yeah, always call back. Don't feel too proud. We'd rather we get it wrong than, affect the rest of your life.
Well, that's the thing about technology as well these days. I mean, when I started, we were literally just coming out of the paper PRFs and moving on to the iPad.
Oh, I miss them days.
Yeah. And but the handy thing about the iPads is being able to see everything about the patient and knowing that the crew came out, even if it was, I don't know, 6 hours ago, because we originally have the thought of, oh, why are we going back if they've recently had a crew? But we can look at everything that a previous crew has done and gone, oh, your heart rate was much lower at that point, or your breathing rate was completely different, or your sugar levels were perfectly normal and now they're massively spiked. Like, we can see those differences and actually see how the patient has changed during that time, which is massively helpful.
Yeah.
And it helps us to see the difference, to be able to go, okay, you're probably still not ready for hospital, or actually, no, there's a trend going on here, and actually we should take you in because we can actively see that you've gotten worse. Whereas with paper PRFs, I know we used to keep one behind, but I think most of the patients used to screw it up and chuck it behind them. Like, you never see them again. But yeah, you can't hide from the iPads. So
no, you can't. And actually, I agree. It's a good thing. We could look at an ECG, which is slightly peculiar, but nothing that worries us. And then 6 hours later, another crew go, yeah, it's slightly peculiar. Oh, let's compare the two. Actually, it's wildly different from the other one. So that's two that don't worry us, but they're different. So let's just get it checked out, So yeah, I agree. And even just pulling up past records, GP records, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree. There is whilst it's longer for us to do the paperwork, and 90% of the patients, it's pain in the backside, and we overwrite compared to doctors. Doctors will write a paragraph, and we're writing, 4 or 5 pages worth. On the 10%, I would say it is important, and it does open up different avenues for us to explore. So it's good. It's just one of them, like, nobody likes changing what they're used to, do they? The paper ones were great because you could bang one out in about 5 minutes, but they always got a carbon copy, so nobody could ever read the carbon copy anyway. And you could only squeeze so much into it. So
yeah,
and there you go.
Tiny little box. And I remember putting a line down 1/3 of it to try and put sort of like
a second sheet,
history, presenting complaint, a little bit of like medical history, and then the other longer bit was this is what I've done. This is what they're like. And it was like
Yeah.
writing in this tiny little writing, trying to get as much in as possible. I actually had a colleague that it must have been a good 6 months that they outright refused to move to the tablets. They were like, no, I've been on paper for so I'm not doing it. I'm staying on paper.
Yes.
And I think at first management were a bit like, I mean, can we enforce it? Like, do they have to come away from paper? And then I think eventually the service was like, no, there is no more paper. We're not, unless it's an absolute emergency and all tablets have gone down, no paper. And I think that was when they were like, okay, fine. I'm probably only going to get fired if I don't. But it is difficult to change, especially when the problem with technology is they're constantly updating it. So things move.
Yep.
You get used to it. And then suddenly that
I was going to say something.
there is now somewhere completely different. And you're sat there in front of a patient, trying to be professional, trying to talk to them. And you know you've got this face of, where the hell's that gone?
Yeah, mid-shift.
Yeah. And you're like
Not even like a new day. It's halfway
it's
through.
there a minute ago. Like, what? I want that box. Like, it's probably like the consent box or something. You're like, I have to tick it. Where is it gone?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the only problem with it. Whereas paper, it was, this is how it's set out and this is how it will always be set out. There's no changing that. But yeah, as I said, still more pros to cons, but that is definitely one of the biggest cons.
Moving forward then, next books. What would you like to see? What stories do you think? Because I want to entice people. It took a lot to get people to write in. So I'd like to entice people to maybe open up a bit and say, yeah, okay, I'll send my one in.
Well, I'd like to think that if they've listened to or read this one, that's going to be enough for them to be like, actually, I want to get my story out there. So hopefully
Yeah.
this will give it a bit of a boost.
Yeah. Personally, I'd like to see more from the other services. I mean, originally, I think this was going to be ambulance, purely ambulance. But when I was asking people on like some Facebook groups and stuff, like I said, I got a lot of hate. But I had several people being like, "Oh, yeah, I'd be well interested."
Yeah.
But like police officers going, "Oh, can I tell you about my story?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And I was thinking, how's that going to fit into an ambulance book? And that's why I changed it to worst jobs on the front line rather than worst jobs on the ambulance service. And then obviously it's a UK flag, but it's the tri-services, so fire, police, and ambulance. But yeah, anything else kind of front line, we'd be definitely interested in. And we'd like to hear your perspective. But yeah, a lot of these locations were fake as well, just because they wouldn't say, they would be like, my name's Tom Smith, and then they wouldn't say a location. So I tried to kind of spread it across the UK a little bit, but I did have, I think, one from America. And it was only because of their spelling. Yeah. So they didn't say. In fact, I can't remember if I put America or whether I just put the UK. But yeah, well, to be honest, I remember that, but it was too English. So maybe they were an American working in the UK.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was a bit seasidey. So
Yeah, it just gave me the gist because a lot of it seemed to be sort of like your country roads and long treks and stuff. And I mean, that's something that's mind blowing to me because with London, you're there in 5-10 minutes. You just, the ambulance, you're there, you deal with it. Whereas I know that in sort of more country-sided
my area,
areas, you've got those long runs.
Well, I wouldn't
from the patient. It's just
I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I was talking to my friend that works in London, and I think he said you guys do something like 8 to 10 jobs a day, if not more.
possible. I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's about 6, but if you get those sort of ones that are just a right, okay, get in the cab, let's go. It's
yeah.
you can. I think the most I've ever done in a shift is 9 or 10.
Yeah, see, I guarantee we're half an hour away from anywhere, and then we're normally on scene for maybe up to an hour, and then probably half an hour to the hospital as well, and then maybe half an hour handover. So I think my other book is called A Year in Green. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is every single patient for 1 year.
Yeah.
Because I want it to be different from every other ambulance book. So every single patient for 1 year, including all the boring jobs and all the Gucci jobs and whatever. And it was looking like I was doing 3 or 4 patients a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that was kind of the average. There might be days where I did 6, but it was just maybe if I was on the car or something and I was getting backed up quickly. But yeah, there were days when I did 2 patients just because we were queuing a hospital or whatever. So, but I love it because we, it's, I, this is maybe very controversial, and I do not mean to upset anyone that works in a city, but I often think if you work in a city, you turn up, you go, "Oh shit, stoop and go."
Yeah.
Whereas we're at least 45 minutes from the hospital, so we need to stay and play. So our skill set, like we get on with things, like we know if we move this person, they've got to survive that journey.
Yeah.
So we need to do everything now before we move them. Whereas, I mean, I'd be the same. In fact, I am the same. If we happen to go to an RTC 5 minutes from hospital, I'm not going to sit there for 45 minutes
You just
putting pelvic binder. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it was absolutely necessary. So if it was a pelvic binder or something, but yeah, if it was like, yeah, let's go now rather than let's stay and play. So I get it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, especially the smaller things. I mean, most of the time, I mean, being Bromley, we are right near the edge of the M25 where it does become a bit more countryside and narrow lanes and
Mhm.
stuff, and so we get a little bit of a mix of it, and that can make a massive difference from if we are in Bromley to those outskirts, because Bromley, you've got a hospital that's 5 minutes down the road. It is
Yeah.
literally okay, well, you need these things, but there's no point in us sticking around. We might as well just get you down there. Whereas as soon as you go to those outer houses, or even like the equestrian fields and stuff like that, you are looking at it and going, I mean, we've got, I don't know, 25 minutes, half an hour to the hospital, but although it's only 15 minutes up the road, we need to take it slower. It's a really bumpy
Yeah.
route. We're worried about, I don't know, like spinal problems or whatever. All of that's got to be taken into account. Whereas in the city, I mean, the most you're worried about is road bumps and I suppose potholes in a way with the way the UK is, but yeah,
You're probably doing 10 mile an hour anyway.
yes, yeah, it's just a massively different mindset from just. I mean, especially in London, you've got your Kings, your Georges, your Royal London, all of the big places where everyone's
Yeah.
coming to. It's right there, ready on your doorstep. Whereas I suppose for you guys, if you need that major trauma center or hack or whatever it is that you need, do you need to go that much further to?
Yeah. So where I am, your PPCI is an hour away
Blimey.
in the same county, and your major trauma is the next county. It's probably an hour and 20 minutes. So for anyone that's non-medical, PPCI is basically if someone's having a heart attack. So time is muscle, and we really want to be there yesterday,
Yeah.
not in an hour's time. We used to get the helicopter would come out and fly, but now they won't because they've got a bigger helicopter. They say it takes them longer to take off in the first place. Yeah, you and I know it's not Gucci enough, but yeah, I mean, even when I've been an hour and a half away from PPCI, they're like, no, you'll be quicker. So we end up going by road an hour and a half with someone having a STEMI, and you think, oh my God, they're going to die. And then, yeah, we've got no major trauma in Lincolnshire. Yeah, it's a little bit scary, really,
Yeah, I
if
bet.
you live around here.
Yeah.
But having said that, the helicopter will come out to that. So,
Well,
and then you'll end up in Nottingham normally, which is a great major trauma centre. So I suppose there is that bonus. You're more likely to have a helicopter ride here.
that sounds like my worst nightmare.
Oh, I love it. I'd love to do it. Just I would hate to do it day in, day out now. I just think, how do these people do it? I know when I started, I'd love to do it, but I just think I go to big jobs like that now, and I get like stress in my neck,
Yeah.
and I feel a bit kind of over the top. Um, probably anxiety
Yeah.
and stress and anxiety type feeling now. Whereas I never used to get that. I used to get like a good adrenaline, like, oh yeah, I'm smashing it, and I'm going to save this person, and let's do this, and now I'm like, oh, I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
Quick, someone else, have a grown up turn up and take over, please.
You definitely you have to be a specific type of person to want to do that day in and day out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's me, and it sounds like it's not.
yeah, but I've no, not anymore. But I've met people that were amazing, and then they went on the helicopter, and then saw them 6 months later, and they just seem, not all of them, don't get me wrong, but just seem like a shell of a man of what they used to be, or more stress, or
Because I assume that they go into the massive RTCs, the one unders, and all of those gruesome things, like cars being sandwiched between lorries on the motorways. You're just like, I couldn't think of anything worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
One under, by the way, is under a train. Yes. Yeah, yeah. No, and I agree. I quite like going to a care home now and getting cake and chatting away to Doris and
Coffee. You can just sit there, take your time with the paperwork.
Yeah.
Control button.
Anyone
Is
that's
everything all right?
anyone that's disappointed with us, let me reassure you, I absolutely love it. I love going to the jobs where someone's arms hanging off. Yeah, it's great, and we're trying to stem an artery en route. I mean, we still go to them, don't we? So, and I think I'm all right then. No, and you are either lucky or you're unlucky in what you go to.
And
Like I've never been to.
deal with it.
Yeah, it's weird how people don't go to jobs. I've never been to a hanging.
I haven't.
And I've been doing this 15 years. I've been doing this, and I've got friends that are like, yeah, I go at least like once every 4 months to one, and I'm like, no, no. But then I've gone to two pediatric arrests. Yeah, uh,
Well,
both
I was gonna say,
fatal.
all of my bad jobs, my sort of like little shit magnet thing is bad labours. Labour's gone wrong.
Oh yeah, I've done a
That's
few
my
labours.
so there's so many things I haven't done, but there's so many people out there have gone, I've never even delivered a baby. I'm like, well,
Yeah, yeah,
I 10 that could have gone
yeah. I'm the same.
better. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, and yeah, you're right. I've gone to plenty of labours, and I hate labours. I hate them, and it's not because the outcome. If the outcome's good, then it's an amazing
yeah,
job. But I don't think people realise if they're calling an ambulance, it's probably going wrong anyway. And then on top of that, you've got the patient and the parent, and it's their life. It's
yeah,
everything about them. You don't want their baby to die. I 100% with you. I cannot stand it. But when it comes out all well and good and baby's out crying and whatever,
yeah.
then I go, wow, that was amazing. But
Such
prior to that, nah.
feelings, but
Yeah, yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
there and you realise everything's going wrong. I think I started once I was 2 or 3 in. I mean, my first one was when I was a student, so that was massively eye opening.
Mm.
Because at that stage I had no idea what I was doing. I was just being told by my mentor, "You need to do this, do this, do this," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay," and you
Yeah.
just sort of go into the zone of right, okay, I'll do what I'm told. But as soon as you become the Band 6 paramedic on scene, it's you need to be telling the people what to do, and you've got to keep your head straight and think, right, we've
Yeah.
got parent, we've got baby, we've got other parent freaking out. Um, you're trying to tell them to put the heating up and get towels and whatever else just to keep them distracted for a moment
Yeah.
whilst you've got baby coming out, I don't know, like grey, blue, whatever colour they really shouldn't be. There's that as soon as their head comes out, or their foot or their hand, and you're like, this is the
Mm.
wrong part. It's the trying to keep yourself calm whilst setting up that resus area in the corner and having stuff on hand for mum whilst trying to get other like a midwife or another team down just to sort of like cover your back so you've got one patient to focus on rather than both. And and then trying to keep the parents calm if you do have to resus the baby and trying to tell them we're doing everything we can. It's got them screaming in the background. Like there's so much emotion that comes with it, as well as risk to health, that I think by the time I'd done 2 or 3, I'd got to the point where as soon as it came down as contractions, labor, third trimester, whatever it said on the MDT, that my heart would just start going and I'd be like, oh, not again. I can't do
Yeah.
this again. And people have those particular jobs where you get to that point, you just sort of go, I can't, like you start picturing all of those previous ones and going, what happens if that happens again? And it's good for experience. I mean, the amount of
Yes.
experience I got out of it and knowing that I could keep calm in those situations and not be a flapper and just know how to deal with it. Whereas you'd get another crew that's never been to it and they potentially would flap just because they haven't had that
Yeah.
experience. And it's, I don't know how to deal with 2 patients at once that are in 2 completely different ends of the spectrum of being unwell. But yeah, I had one colleague that he kept getting drownings,
Oh, man.
pediatrics drownings, and it really, really ruffled him up. And it got to the point that as soon as that job came down, he like that PTSD was going, no, I can't. You need to send someone else. Like it's too much.
Yes.
And he'd still get on with it and deal with it, but it's the aftermath. Right? You'd see him at the hospital and he'd look broken, and that's
Yes.
the reality of it. When you do get those worst jobs on the front line, I mean, going back to what we were saying earlier, these are the things that you are asking us to drag up from the deep, where we've had therapy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember that, but as soon as you ask that question, it's right back there. And
Yeah. Yeah.
some people it's difficult.
Yeah. There was the movie recently. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a comedy all about ambulance, and they were talking about the worst job. And he said about this RTC, and he said you step out and you're stepping on the person's flesh. Um, and I thought, yes, Code 3 is a great film. But yeah, you see, you're stepping on people's flesh at an RTC. That's what you're asking us to remember. And and I watched that and I thought, I don't think I've ever done that. And it was probably 2 months later, I'm at an RTC. And that's exactly
Wow.
what was happening.
Yeah.
There was the poor bloke had exploded across the road. And as we're walking around, it was weird because the flesh itself had picked up the tarmac, so it looked like brown lumps.
Right.
But then, like, if you step on it and it rolled, then you could see its flesh, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And it was, yeah. So
Awesome.
sorry, it is. It was a bad job. It was a, yeah, a terrible job. Um, but yeah, I agree. I think PTSD in the ambulance service is higher than what most people think. And actually, I did a study about this at uni. I think we're the biggest PTSD category in the UK over the military, unless there's conflict. So any military people out there, I'm not taking it away from you. I get that during Iraq conflicts, Afghan conflicts, whatever conflicts there are going on at the time, I understand that you guys are going to have a higher PTSD rate than us. But during non-conflict time, that's when the ambulance service is hugely on it. And it's getting worse because we're going to everything.
Yeah.
We're not stopping. Whereas before we'd maybe have one of them jobs and then we'd debrief. But now we have one of them jobs and then we go to Doris in the care home again straight after. And you don't get that time to compress. And yeah, terrible really. But I don't think I want to end this on a such a horrible situation. We do love our jobs, but I get it. I think that's why we get the 5-year blues, don't we? And people start going, it's not for me anymore. And they join GP surgery or whatever. What was Casper's? Casper's cousin. Oh, I don't know. That'll be someone's pale white, I'm going to guess. Arling up. That was a good one, wasn't it? That was about the beer can up the anus. So yeah, that's a thought to leave you guys on. Kind of beer up someone's bum.
Yes.
Listen, Alex, I'm so happy with all the work that you've done. I'm so happy with the stories that you've done. If I do a volume 2, you'll be first on the list if you're interested, particularly if you're going into it. I'll let you know. So if you're listening to volume 2 and it's not Alex, either we've had a massive fallout, or Alex decided it wasn't for him. But nevertheless, I'd be more than happy. And anyone that wants to bring in their stories, or if it's not just you, your colleagues, if they've got a good story. I will say I can't take third party stories. So if it's your colleague that went to something, it's not right for me to use that story. I've got loads that I'd love to share, and I've approached my colleagues and said, "Hey, can I use this story?" And they've went no, and I'm like, "No, I can't use it." But it is what it is. If it's their story, it's for them to decide whether they want to share or not. And I promise you, we'll keep it anonymous. Yeah. So please send them in. Please tell your colleagues to send it in. It's all going to a good cause, or at least some of it. I won't say all of it because there's costs, business costs behind the back. So, but yeah, it will be for good things, and it also gets your story out there. Yeah. So if anyone has got stories and they want to send them in, they can do on yourworstjob@hotmail.com. And then if it's chosen, it'll be in probably the next book or maybe volume 3, depending on how it goes. And I say that because it's the audio version. In the book itself, it's wrote in the book and there's QR codes and stuff as well. But don't be shy. Send them in. I will make it anonymous. You will get the story back before I decide to publish it, so you're happy with it. Everyone's happy with it, and we'll see if we can share some of our experiences. And this actually book is going to a good cause as well. So some of the profit is going towards Project Wayne, which is a charity-based not-for-profit company where we're looking at using drones to deliver emergency life-saving equipment. So if someone has a cardiac arrest, we'll get the defib to them, hopefully quicker than the ambulance. And you've got to understand, like, it's one thing having a cardiac arrest in the middle of town, or even on your street where there's a defib on the end of your road. If you're traveling along the main road, where's your closest? It could be several miles away. And the same with the ambulance service as well. And we're looking at blood kits and EpiPens and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the long-term future. But for now, it is active and we use it for body and water. So if anyone's missing, fire, big RTCs, it will be used for any terrorist attacks as well. where we can use the drones to keep everybody safe and kind of get an overall picture of what's happening. So it's a great cause. Some of the profit of this book goes to that. And I think that's only right because it's not my stories, it's your stories. It'd be very selfish to take your stories and then profiteer from it myself. So we're looking at things that can help everybody, really.
And that is the end of the podcast with Trevor Wayne and Alexander Everly. We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please keep your eyes and ears out for book number 2. And as Trevor said, if you want to get one of your stories involved, please email yourworstjob@hotmail.com. Bye for now.